Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the cinematic follow-ups that failed to reach the high bar of their predecessor.
Right now, I don't want you to do that. Don't.
Number 10, Joker Folie à Deux. Say what you will, but Folie à Deux is a bold sequel. Unfortunately, bold doesn't always mean good, and it most certainly doesn't mean successful.
2 years ago, the name Arthur Fleck hit Gotham like a hurricane.
The trial of the century.
They believe Arthur Fleck to be some kind of martyr. Well, he's not.
Going in, you would have thought this movie was too big to fail. The original Joker earned gold at the Oscars and the box office, and adding Lady Gaga as a version of Harley Quinn was a stroke of casting genius.
You should see it out there. They're all going crazy for you. You did it.
But somehow, the same creative team turned in a misguided musical that disavows the very fan base the original built. No one was left happy. Not critics, not audiences, and definitely not distributor Warner Brothers, who were forced to weather a catastrophic end to what was once one of their most promising properties.
I got the sneaking suspicion that we're not giving the people what they want.
It's okay, baby. Let's give the people what they want.
Number 9. Quantum of Solace. Le Chiffre and Dominic Green have nothing on James Bond's greatest enemy of all, production problems.
You don't have to worry about me. I'm not going to go chasing him. He's not important. And neither was she.
The franchise had just seemed like it was back on track, too. Casino Royale bet it all on Daniel Craig with dazzling results, so a sequel should have been easy money. But then came the 2007 writer's strike.
That wasn't very nice.
Up against a stringent studio deadline, Quantum of Solace began filming without a finished script. And boy, can you tell. Tall, dark, and handsome became muddled, overlong, and forgettable. A committed cast saves Quantum of Solace from being a complete dud, but you can find a better Bond fix most anywhere else.
Not a bad idea.
Number 8. Independence Day Resurgence. Exactly 20 years after their last attack on Earth, aliens returned for another round of sci-fi carnage in 2016.
It started a couple of hours ago. Look how their behavior changed. After 20 years of being catatonic.
Sadly, audiences did not follow. To start, Will Smith's absence leaves a gaping Steven Hiller-sized hole in the film, and nothing Liam Hemsworth does can fill it. So like any blockbuster, Independence Day instead stuffed its runtime with a whole lot of CGI explosions.
We have incoming! Damn, we're fast! Jesus, look at their firepower.
But while the new age special effects are a marvel to behold, they simply can't overcome Resurgence's thin story and thinner characters. After 2 whole decades waiting for a proper continuation, it's safe to say fans expected a bit more than this.
You all have to pick up the pieces once it's over. This is my part.
Number 7. Wonder Woman 1984.
2017's Wonder Woman is often regarded as one of, if not the only bright spot in Warner Brothers' haphazard DC extended universe.
We can't save everyone in this war. This is not what we came here to do.
If you're wondering why its sequel isn't part of the list, that's because it falls into the familiar trap of assuming bigger is better.
I'm sorry. I messed up. I lied.
There are more characters and more plot, but not enough time for any of it to connect like it did the first time around. Rather, the film comes off as rushed, unpolished, and at worst, just plain boring. No matter how awesome Diana looks in that golden armor, 1984 was not a year of her life worth visiting. Number 6. The Godfather Part 3. If you think good sequels are hard to come by, good trilogies are even harder.
You hate me. You hate me.
No, I don't hate you.
I dread you.
I did what I could, Kate.
And despite Francis Ford Coppola's best efforts, The Godfather Part 3 does not buck that trend. The story suffers from a major sense of been there, done that. and the casting of Coppola's own daughter Sofia did not help matters either.
What is this really for? Why are you doing this? Why am I doing this?
But that's not to say The Godfather Part 3 is unwatchable by any means. While far from perfect, the film still has 7 Oscar nominations to its name. In a way, that just speaks to how incredible the franchise's foundation is. When your baseline is that good, a step down is still solid entertainment.
It was God's will. It was a terrible accident. But it's finished.
Number 5. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. After learning that The Last Crusade wasn't so final after all, fans around the world gathered to see Indy back on the horse for another big screen adventure.
You're a hard man to read, Dr. Jones.
Ouch.
Unfortunately, it wasn't quite worth the wait. Crystal Skull wisely leans on Harrison Ford's magnetic work in the role, but since most of his screen time is shared with his newly introduced son Mutt, even that gets old fast.
Maybe I will, Teach. You got a problem with that?
Not if that's what you love doing. Don't let anybody tell you different.
It feels like the studio wanted to shoehorn in as many spin-off possibilities as they could, and yet the only takeaway here is that fridges can somehow withstand nuclear explosions. Crystal Skull is good for a few action scenes, but otherwise, Indiana's original adventures still reign supreme.
I think I understand, Docs.
Number 4. Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. How does a franchise go from record-breaking grosses to the laughingstock of its fandom? Well, just watch The Rise of Skywalker. Most of its issues can be summed up by one egregious line in the film.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
The hand-waved resurrection of one of Star Wars' most legendary villains, who already had a legendary death too, soured even the most diehard of fans.
I have died before. The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
And don't even get us started on Rey's surprise lineage. Add to that all the dropped storylines and unsatisfying reveals, and fans were left with the distinct impression that this trilogy was made up as it went along.
I am all the Sith.
And I... I'm all the Jedi.
Number 3. Alien 3. Within 20 minutes, this threequel doesn't just jettison its own story, it actively tarnishes the 2 films that came before it.
And EVs come down. Get down to the beach, there may be others. No!
While Ripley was undoubtedly the star of Aliens, that movie doesn't work without Newt and Hicks. But did Alien 3 care? Nope. Newt and Hicks die off screen in the film's opening act, and the franchise's heart goes with them.
What's the matter?
Where is she?
In the morgue.
I have to see her. I have to see what's left of her.
By prioritizing more xenomorph scares above consistent characters or story integrity, Alien 3 lost the special touch that makes the original films classics to this day. Yes, we all love Ripley, but this movie forgot that a captain is nothing without her crew.
Sounds good to me.
Number 2. Son of the Mask. On paper, seeing Jim Carrey don the green face paint again doesn't sound like a bad idea, but that's not what happened at all.
Don't you just love Halloween? Trick or treat.
Jim Carrey didn't return, which makes you wonder, who in their right mind thought it was a good idea to make a sequel to The Mask without the actor who originally wore it?
Can't take my eyes off of you.
Jim Carrey's eclectic performance practically defined the slapstick humor in the first one, so doing any kind of follow-up without his involvement just feels wrong, especially considering poor Jamie Kennedy was brought in to exclusively do bad impressions and questionable dance moves. The Mask deserved much, much better.
You can't find me if you're locked in a trunk.
Before we unveil our top pick, here are some honorable mentions. The Matrix Revolutions. 3 movies in, Neo's slow-mo moves had some really diminishing returns.
I know it does. I've seen it. That's why the rest of me is just going to enjoy the show. Because we already know that I'm the one that beats you.
Hannibal. Following up The Silence of the Lambs, we expected better.
Is this Clarice? I'm afraid I have bad news for you.
Dumb and Dumber 2. Fart jokes and bad puns aren't as funny the second time around.
Look, Harry. He's hooked on crack.
For the love of God, have mercy!
Space Jam: A New Legacy. LeBron James doesn't add to Space Jam's legacy. He kills it.
Can't touch this.
What the? Really?
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Speed 2: Cruise Control. In 1994, Sandra Bullock and Keanu Reeves teamed up to save a passenger bus rigged to blow if it fell below 50 miles per hour.
We have a slight situation on the bus here. Ma'am, if you'll please sit down and deal with this.
No, I won't, and you're scaring the shit out of these people.
Ma'am, please!
It was tense, propulsive, and made a killing at the box office. So in order to replicate those thrills, Speed 2 switched venues to a cruise ship?
I was going to surprise you tonight, but it's a cruise.
This is so unfair.
Yeah, even though it's literally in the name, this maligned follow-up somehow took all the speed out of Speed. As unimaginative as its title, Speed 2 is a boring retread that tries and epically fails to capture the electric thrill of the original.
We cannot stop the ship. I want to slow it down.
Disappointing is too light a word for it. Embarrassing is much more accurate. What's the worst sequel you've ever seen in a theater? Let us know about your buyer's remorse in the comments below.
Wait! This is a waste of time.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.